Hey, good day, everybody. Catch the Torah wave. Welcome back to our Genesis class live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg of the Noahide World Center. Class I just love to attend every week. I look forward to what Rabbi's got to share. It's always a joy when he takes the time out of his very busy schedule to share with us the beauty of Torah as it was intended. And we're joined by many people from around the world in the Zoom room. I see we've got Bart and Michaela, Angela and Mike, our friend Hans, Lloyd and Collins, Wendell, and others as well. So let's just jump right in and see how Rabbi Chaim is doing. Shalom, Rabbi. You are live on the Noahide World Center YouTube and Facebook and other channels as well. So we're going to turn the class over to you and look forward to hearing what you've got to share.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening from Jerusalem. Hope everything is fine with all of you. Sorry. I don't know if you saw last week, but in the last 2 minutes of our meeting, I got a very hard message here in Israel, and my great rabbi passed away. He was 90 years old. Okay, someone that I'm really very connected with, very touched with.
Oh, Rabbi Druckmann?
Yeah, exactly. Good.
Wow.
I see that you are inside this thing, Rabbi Druckmann. Yes, exactly.
Condolences, Rabbi.
It was a very hard week, I will say like that, with a lot of.
I also lost my father-in-law this week as well, and my wife's got to fly out for a funeral. After this class, I got to take her to the airport. Yeah,
it's not easy to lose someone that is very close to you. Rabbi Druckmann, he had a very big funeral for more than they closed all the range of the area there. More than 500,000 people came and saw whatever it is, was related, and also we have 7 days of mourning. It reminded me a lot of things. One thing I can tell you, okay, one of the things that he taught us in his behavior, he was driving all over the country for everybody, okay, who asked him to teach something. And even if it was only 1 or 2 people in, 5 hours drive and coming back. And I think that he taught us that if someone wants to have the thirsty of learning the Torah, even if he in the other side of the world, we need to do our best to give him to help him, to assist him, to teach him Torah, and not to leave the Torah only for ourselves. So he was it is very hard.
That's where you got it from. And we were so glad to have you visit here in Canada last month. It was such a joy to meet you in person, and you're a shining example of that same teaching. So that's exciting.
It's true. And I know where we are. First of all, good to see you all. It's great to see you all. Another 2 weeks, we're going to meet you, those who will come to in Europe. Most probably we will also do a bit of a Zoom from Europe, not for everything, but for some of the things we will do it. So 2 weeks from now, Sunday, 2 weeks from now, we're going to be in Prague, right? This is the place, yes. We're going to be in Prague. Just a moment, someone here is writing me something. I want to teach something that in Genesis, but not the exact place that we are. Just a moment. Let me tell him that he won't bother me now. Okay, just a moment. I'm sorry, and then we will start. Okay, let's start learn a few things. We're going to learn something a bit else. I actually got to go to see also. We're going to learn something a bit else, something that is related with the Parsha, with things that we read yesterday. And because there is a very, first of all, we call this the Leilui Nishmat. We're going to learn things to uplift the spirit of my rabbi, okay, this week. And what we're going to do, we're going to learn something from the Parsha that we read yesterday, because we're also going to learn, I will call this the approach, the right approach of the Bible. I will say something that I said a bit earlier today. I think that Bart already heard it, but you can always hear those things even a second time or third time. The question is, okay, the question is, what is the approach that we have to the scripture of the Bible, okay, to the words of the Bible? Now, there are two ways how to look at this. The Hebrew nation, I will say it like that, the world is looking on the words of the Bible as a wisdom, a very big wisdom, especially the Greeks, the old Greeks, who were the first one who translated the Bible to their language, to put it also with the library that they had. And they said mainly that those are very smart words. This is a very smart book. Let's learn from this book. Fair enough. This is one way to look at this. But then there are a lot of things that we today maybe, with more knowledge of the world, and we know a bit better a lot of things. So who said that this smart book that was written down 4,000 years ago is still relevant, or some of the things that may be not relevant, some of the things that maybe we need to put aside? There's another way to look on this word, on the words of the Bible, and this is under the assumption, under the understanding that those are the words of God who gave us those words through the prophecy. So it's not only wisdom, it's also, I will call it the will of God. We all know that the will is much bigger and much more profound, much more deep than just the smartness that we have. The will doesn't have any boundaries. Will of every will, okay? And the will is basically one person is speaking with someone else, or God, the Almighty, spoke with the Hebrew nation. And this is where we also put inside or involve inside the understanding of the oral Bible that we also got with the written Bible, where basically what we have is we approaching the scripture, those words, with a lot of humility. If we don't understand something, it's not that because we are more smart than what is written down, so everybody that wrote it is nonsense. If we don't understand something in the Bible, so we need to search much more deeper, much more insight to realize, to understand. Those are the words of God. And this is where we can find also that someone that is 80 years old will sit down with his son, 40 years old, or that will sit down with their grandson also together, and they will learn, and each one of them also will understand in a different level those words and things. And we also have a lot of, I will call it a respect and humility in front of the rabbis, the old rabbis who preserved and they taught us exactly what to do and how to do to the with the things that we've learned. So let's learn for now something interesting from the Bible. Let's share the screen. Let's go inside. Things that we've read yesterday. Okay, it is. Let's go. In Genesis, we are in chapter. Yesterday was, if I remember correctly. No. So more. Okay. One more, just a moment. It is. Chapter 48. The end of 47. Okay. Please read for a moment. Now we have here a very interesting description of Moses, who is how exactly he is dealing with food in the famine time. Joseph, yes, Joseph, how he is dealing with the food in the famine time. Okay, so let's read 5-6 verses, and then we'll start to drill inside to what's happening here. Okay, so please read from 13, we'll finish in 16, and then we will continue.
All right, starting at 13. Now there was no food in the entire land, for the famine had grown exceedingly severe, and the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan were exhausted because of the famine. 14. And Joseph collected all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan with the grain that they were buying, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. 15. Now the money was depleted from the land of Egypt and from the land of Canaan, and all the Egyptians came to Joseph, saying, Give us food. Why should we die in your presence, since the money has been used up? 16. And Joseph said, Give me your livestock, and I will give you food in return for your livestock, if the money has been used up.
And he's continuing up, okay, to buy everything from them. Please read verse 18 for a moment.
18. That year ended, and they came to him in the second year, and they said to him, We will not hide from my lord, for insofar as the money and the property in animals have been forfeited to my lord, nothing remains before my lord except our bodies and our farmland.
So because of that, and they saying to them, to him, why should we die in front of you? And then look in verse number 20.
20. So Joseph bought all the farmland of the Egyptians for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold each one his field, for the famine had become too strong for them, and the land became Pharaoh's.
And at the end also we have, please read verse number 23.
23. And Joseph said to the people, Behold, I have bought you and your farmland today for Pharaoh. Behold, you have seed, so sow the soil.
And also 24, please. Yes, also 24.
And it shall be concerning the crops that you shall give a fifth to the Pharaoh, and the remaining 4 parts shall be yours, for seed, for your fields, for your food, for those in your houses, and for your young children to eat.
And at the end, they're saying to him also in 25, please also read 25 for a moment. We will see how they are expressing
They replied,
their thankfulness for everything.
You have saved our lives. Let us find favor in my Lord's eyes, and we will be slaves to Pharaoh.
Now, the question is why all of this is being written down in the holy book of God. If I will compare this for a moment to Esther, remember the story of Esther? Okay, let's jump to the story of Esther for a moment. And there we have, it's interesting to see the not the differences, but more to understand why it's a big question what's happening here. Okay, at the end, if you will read verse 1 and 2, it's the end of Esther. Okay,
verse 1. And King Ahasuerus imposed a tribute on the land and on the isles of the sea, and all of the acts of his power and his might, and the full account of Mordecai's greatness. How the king advanced him, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Media and Persia?
Okay, so why isn't it, all those things that Joseph is doing here? I jumped back to the Genesis. Why is it written down here? It was supposed to be written down inside, the pyramids and all the books that are written down in Egypt. Why do we need to put all of this inside the book of God? What does this trying to teach us? Okay, and now again, I'm approaching this those words of God, this story of God, in a way that, with a bit of humility, there's a message for me. There's a message for us in this story. We need to learn it. Now, the question is starting, first of all, who wrote this question in loud and clear? His name is the Abarbanel. He he was the ministry of how do you call this, of the funds, the economics, okay, the ministry of the economics in Spain, in the greatness time of Spain. He was a very smart person. He was a big rabbi. He left us a few books, very important books. And he's asking, why is it that we need to read everything that Joseph did to the Egyptians in this, in the book of God? This is what he's asking. And the question is starting even a bit earlier, because if we will go for a moment, we will jump for a moment to Genesis. But when Joseph is coming in front of a Pharaoh, when he's managing to explain the dream of Pharaoh, we see that again, when he's saying to Pharaoh the explanation of the dream that Pharaoh did, okay, so he's saying two things that he's saying. First of all, he's explaining the dream. Please read verse number 25.
25, and Joseph said to Pharaoh, Pharaoh's dream is one. What God is doing, he has told Pharaoh.
And he's explaining that we're speaking about 7 years of good food and 7 years of famine, right? But at the end, he's not only saying this, he's also giving an advice. Please read verse number 33, 34, 35.
33, so now let Pharaoh seek out an understanding and wise men and appoint him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this and appoint officials over the land and prepare the land of Egypt during the 7 years of plenty. And let them collect all the food of these coming good years, and let them gather the grain under Pharaoh's hand, food in the cities, and keep it.
So we have here an advice, but not only an advice. If we will jump to verses 48, we will see from 48 that he is saying more than that. Let's read for a moment 48, 49. It will be enough to realize that something here, that the Bible, that God is trying to tell us something to learn from this. Please, 48, 49.
48, and he collected all the food of the 7 years that was in the land of Egypt, and he placed food in the cities. The food of the field surrounding the city he put within it. And Joseph gathered grain like the sand of the sea in great abundance until one stopped counting because there was no number.
Yeah, they finished all the numbers in those days, okay? Endless. But we need, the most important thing is that if God gave or told us those words inside the Bible, again, we need to understand that there is something that we can learn today, nowadays, from this story, from those points that is being mentioned here in this thing. And this is what I want to look a bit inside and to start to realize points that we can learn from what's happening here, okay? So I will start in verse number 48. Please read again verse number 48.
48, and he collected all the food of the 7 years that was in the land of Egypt, and he placed the food in the cities. The food of the field surrounding the city he put within it.
It's interesting that they say he did it. No, not the Maimonides. We have a very big commentator. His name is Ramban, Rabbi Moshe Bar Nachman. He was alive 800 years ago. Okay, 800 and it was 50 years ago. But he was a great rabbi. By the way, this Ramban, this commentator, is saying he at the end of his days he came to Israel, and he looked what we call a minyan. Minyan is 10 Jewish adults that are praying together. This is a minyan. This is where you can pray one with each other. And in Jerusalem, he found only 8. He didn't have even the possibility of praying in the right way that the Jewish community is doing. Today, okay, it's 150 years after that, we have more than 1,300 shuls, okay, not with 10 people inside them, with 20, 40, 50, 100, 200, 300 people inside. So, the redemption of the Hebrew nation. But one of the things that he's noting two points on this verse. it says he collected all the food, okay, in Hebrew, kol ha'ochel. But when did he collected it? He collected it at the time that there was a lot of spare, okay? There was the first 7 years, there was a lot of plenty food there. And he was collecting all not only the leftovers, but he was teaching them, we'll call it like that if you want to deal with the famine time, you're dealing with this already in the time that you have, that you don't have the famine, okay? When you have plenty, when you have more than enough, how to use the food in the right way that you won't throw it, that you won't exaggerate, with the food, put too much on your plate and won't eat it. He was teaching them to start to do this in the right way, to behave with the food in the right way. And he took from them enough, and this is what's written down in 49. He took from them enough, while he also not only took from them enough, we'll see in a moment, he gave all of this, he didn't took anything to himself. And he didn't want that they will start to spread over, or they will throw aside because of all of the plenty that they have. A lot of times when someone have too much money, I'll call it like that, he's starting to use it without thinking. I knew someone, I'm speaking about the story 32 years ago, okay, that he won the lottery. He won the lottery, but in those days he won, it was really a very big amount of money that he won. But after 7 years, he lost everything. A lot of times when you have too much and you don't know how to use it in the right way, you're losing everything. You're wasting a lot of it. You're not using it in the right way. And this is what we see here, that Joseph is starting to collect the money and to deal with the money in the right way, already in the time that they had plenty. Another thing that we see, Joseph could have also decided to take it because he was the king, right? In those days, the king could have done everything that he wanted to do. But instead of that, he was buying it from them, okay? He was taking it in a way that he gave them also the money. At the end, they will give him back the money and they will give him more than the money. We'll see that. But Joseph behaved in a very, I will say, honest way with the people of the kingdom, without trying to force himself, okay, on them because he's the king. So here we see, this is the beginning of what we see here in this part. Now let's jump to the years of the famine. The years of the famine is even much more astonishing points, okay, of what's happening here with everything. So let's go step by step. Where it is. I'm here. Sorry. I'm here in 41. Please read for a moment, verse number 56.
56. Now the famine spread over all the face of the land, and Joseph opened all the storehouses in which there was grain, and he sold it to the Egyptians, and the famine intensified in the land of Egypt.
What exactly did he open? People, please read for a moment. What exactly did he open?
All the storehouses.
All the storehouses. Why do you need to open all the storehouses? Open, only the things that you're giving out. Why is it that, think about this for a moment. What's written down here is that every morning, I'll say it like that. Every morning, people came to buy a bit of, food for themselves. But they didn't only saw that they can buy their food. They also saw that all the storehouses, okay, are open. There are, guards there that you won't be able to steal, but you can see that there's a lot of food. Why do you need to do that? What did Joseph achieved when he did that? I'm going to give you something that is a very simple thing, okay? This is a commentator, or Chaim, his name is Chaim. He was 250 years ago, he was living in Morocco and then in Jerusalem. He's saying something amazing, and we know that. There is a saying that a lot of times the hunger that people are feeling is not a real hunger. It's more hunger, okay? Because they don't see the possibility of food. I will say it like that. Who will starve more? The one who have in his refrigerator a bit of food, or the one that in his refrigerator doesn't have any food? The truth is, I will say it with my experience, okay? I came to Canada a month ago, and in the refrigerator, Dan, thank you very much for that, organized so much food that I wasn't supposed to eat too much. I ate a bit because I knew that I have a lot of food. Now, if I will be hungry, I have what to eat. When you have in the refrigerator a bit of food, you're feeling less hunger. And this is what Joseph did. Joseph opened everything. Look, don't buy too much now because you think that there isn't enough. There is enough. There will be enough. Take it easy. Buy what you need. I want to remind us all with the manna. Remember the manna in the desert? Every day they were supposed to collect the manna for this specific day. If there was
an omer,
leave a
right.
bit of manna for tomorrow, it will be with worms. And the biggest experience is to understand and to trust God that you will have tomorrow manna also. It's very hard. Usually people want that they will have a bit of money in the bank and a bit of more food in the refrigerator, that they won't feel that they're on the edge. So this is what Joseph did. He opened everything. Look, there is everything here. Now buy only what you need. Don't buy more than that. It's a psychologist way how to behave with people and how to behave with ourselves also in the right way. And again, we can see that Joseph, who is the king now, okay, I don't know what Pharaoh did. I know that Joseph did all of the things there, and he behaved with the people. Again, it's not his country, it's not his people, but he behaved with them in a very, I'll call it a honest way, nice way, with a lot of dignity. Okay, so this is what we see here from the beginning. And even though the famine is very hard in the land of Egypt, and from all of the area they came to visit Joseph. So we have here something I call it psychologists to give the feeling that there is enough, that you don't need to
prevents the
starve
panic.
everything.
Yeah, it prevents any panic for sure.
Exactly. So let's continue on and let's see what's happening now. What's happening now with Joseph? Let's continue on. Now his family came, and everybody knows that it's his family. Let's read for a moment. We jumped for chapter 47. And let's read for a moment verse 12. Please read verse number 12.
12. And Joseph sustained his father and his brothers and his father's entire household with bread according to the young children.
Why do we need to learn about the young children? What is this giving us more the understanding of the young children? Okay, for sure he gave all of them food, okay, like all of the households, like everybody else. Everybody else got, for the household. But what is the meaning of like the young children? We all know, okay, we all saw the young children when they're eating. Usually they need a bit different food, something else. We see how much Joseph is, I'll call it like that. He's looking inside the small, tiny details to help and to assist people to feel comfortable. Okay, it's not the same thing. We see how much he is honest and how much he is looking to the small details, so everybody will have enough food for surviving in the right way. Okay, and Usually, by the way, the children need different food and a bit more food. And again, Joseph knows exactly who have young kids, who needs them, who is going to get them, how he's going to give it. Everything is fine. And now we're coming to another very important verse. Please read for a moment, verse number 14.
14, and Joseph collected all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan with the grain that they were buying, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house.
How many times do we hear about people who are using their, I will say, authority to put a bit of money to their pockets? Not all of it, a bit, just a little bit. Do you agree with me that Joseph is a very big politician here? Where exactly does he bring all the money? He's not putting anything to his pockets. He's not putting anything to his pocket. Now, it's not the first time that we see this with Joseph. We see this twice again in the earlier days of Joseph. Okay, I'm going to show you a verse. We all know those verses, but I'm going to show this for a moment. Let's jump for a moment to 39. Let's jump for a moment 2 chapters backwards, and then we'll see 2 places, okay? Chapter 39, verses 22, 23. Let's see for a moment. Please read it.
22. So the warden of the prison delivered all the prisoners who were in the prison into Joseph's hand, and whatever they did there, he was the one who did it. The warden of the prison did not inspect anything that was in Joseph's hand, for the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made prosper.
Fair enough. But again, we see how much the warden of the prison is relying on Joseph, and he trusted him because Joseph was a very honest person, right? We have the same thing in verses 8 and 9. Please read for a moment what's happening here. He's the wife of his household trying to take him to do a sexual immoral behavior. And now let's read for a moment 8 and 9.
Yeah, verse 8, but he refused, and he said to his master's wife, behold, with me my master knows nothing about anything in the house, and all he has given into my hand. In this house there is no one greater than I, and he has not withheld anything from me except you, insofar as you are his wife. Now how can I commit this great evil and sin against God?
So we see when Joseph is a servant, and we all know that the servants are a bit, a lower moral behavior. And also when he's inside the jail, again, lower moral behavior, those 2 places, I will call it like that. Even though Joseph is fearing of God, I will call it, and behaving in the right way, and also when he's jumping to the other side, when he is already a king, okay, the secondary for the king, also again, he's not, he's a very righteoushood behavior, giving all the money and all the things to Pharaoh. He's not taking anything to his pocket. He's not taking anything to himself. He can always put a bit aside. Nobody will really notice for that. Okay. You said all the politicians. Yes, we know that the politicians also in these times, sometimes, using those their, we'll call it the place that they are to do a lot of other things that they're not supposed to do. But Joseph is not in this side. Again, something that we can learn to our days today, how to behave, what to do. Let's continue on to another thing. Let's look for a moment how much he was careful for the Egyptians. Okay, look for a moment in verse number 18. Let's jump for verse number 18. Please.
18. That year ended, and they came to him in the second year, and they said to him, "We will not hide from my lord, for insofar as the money and the property in animals have been forfeited to my lord, nothing remains before my lord except our bodies and our farmland."
Fair enough. And now, what is their? I will say it, what is their offer? What are they offering the Egyptians?
Their farmland,
The farmland. What else?
their bodies.
Also the bodies. We call this in a different way, okay? That they are asking not only to give their land to Pharaoh, but also to become slaves to Pharaoh. Now let's look for a moment in verse number 20, what Joseph is doing.
20. So Joseph bought all the farmland of the Egyptians for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold each one his field, for the famine had become too strong for them, and the land became Pharaoh's.
Did he bought them also?
No.
No, not at all. Right? He was honest. He could have taken advantage on the situation where all of them tried to put aside a bit of food, but they didn't manage somehow. Only Joseph managed to put aside all the food and managed also to sell them. They're coming to him and they're saying to him, look, we are going to be the slaves of Pharaoh for all of the rest of our life. Joseph is with a lot of dignity and with a lot of honesty, is not taking them to a situation where it's going to be, I will call it a one-way ticket, that they're going to be slaves of Pharaoh for the rest of their lives. He's doing something else. What exactly is he doing? He's doing, if you will read verse number 24, I will explain to you exactly what he's doing. Please read it.
24. And it shall be concerning the crops that you shall give a fifth to Pharaoh, and the remaining 4 parts shall be yours for seed, for your fields, for your food, for those in your houses, and for your young children to eat.
Basically, what he's saying something very simple, and it's a very fair contract. He's saying, look, the land is going to be Pharaoh's, so you're going to work in the land, and you're going to bring the seeds and everything else. And 4 parts you're going to take for yourself, and the 5th part you're going to give to Pharaoh, because the land is Pharaoh's. So first of all, you're going to get the most, the 4 parts, not to live for yourself only the 5th part, but to take all the 4 parts and only a 5th part to give to Pharaoh. And you're not going to be slave to him, but you're going to work through the land. You're going to work for Pharaoh. So basically, what he did, he rescued all the Egyptians to a situation where they're going to live in dignity on one side. And on the other side, everybody knows who is, he used, I will call it like that, okay? The famine to a situation where everybody is concentrating, everybody understands that Pharaoh is the king and he is going to give something to the king every time. But he gave them, I will call it like that, he gave them the possibility of living in an honest way. Fair enough. Again, he could have used everything to a different place, to a different situation, to use it to something that a much big advantage for everything with the things that he did. But you see, he is still thinking in a moral way and giving them the possibility. Another thing that we can see inside is something very interesting also. Please read verse number. Yes, of course.
Rabbi, is that where the Hebrew concept of maximum tithing of 20% comes from?
Yes. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
You can find here the 20%, exactly. Okay. Well, Jacob said, I will give you 10%. And we see here with Joseph 20%, and we understand that those are the 2 options, 10 or 20%, exactly. In a moment, later on I will try to show you also where it's written down about Jacob that is giving 10%. Let's read for a moment again, verse number 21. One of the things that he's doing is shuffling the people from one place to another. Please read verse number 21.
And he transferred the populace to the cities from one end of the boundary of Egypt to its other end.
So it sounds horrible, right? But what did he do? He moved, I will call it like that. He moved groups. He didn't move one person there and one person there. He took the community as a community where they were living together, and he moved them to a different place, and the other community he brought here. So even though he managed, he said, you're selling this place to Pharaoh, so you need to remember that it's not yours. So you need to move from one place to another. Fair enough. I understand the logic. But again, he did it with moving groups of people with their neighbors and everything else, okay? When you took me down to, to Penticton and all the places there, and we went from one place to another place, and they were all small towns. Think about this for a moment, that the king is moving the towns from one to each other, but he's moving the full town from here to there, and the other town from here to there, he's moving a full town one with each other, so they won't lose their friends. Again, we see how much he can take an advantage, but instead of taking advantage, he's trying to be very in a honest way. Yes, and this is also what people are speaking. Now, what we saw from all of those points, we saw a few points. We saw that he is dealing with the people in an honest way, that he is very committed to Pharaoh, that he is not taking too much advantage, that he's opening all the bars and everything else, so they won't feel the hunger, but they will be with a security feeling that everything is fine. We see here how much Joseph is we'll call it dealing in an honest way with the people, and not using this situation of the famine as an advantage against those people, against themselves. The main question is that I have here, first of all, we're starting to realize why the Bible is written down all of those things. Okay, and I mentioned a few of the oral explanations that we have here in this thing, a long history. But I have a question, and this is not something that you need to answer me as straight ahead, okay, I'll say it like that, but something that you more to think for yourself. Now, we read this thing, by the way, those are the parsha of last week and this week, okay? Now, the question is very simple. We're not a king, we are not the king in our places, okay? We are just, simple people. We are simple people. We're simple people, but, maybe we have a bit of authority or something like that, but we are simple people. What are the things that we can take in our lives today to behave, or from what we've learned from Joseph, to behave with the people around us? Now, you don't need to give me an answer now. Maybe you need to think about this for a moment. Not a moment, maybe you need to sleep for a night, okay? I can say something that I took, okay, from all of this thing when I've learned it in all of those points. I started to realize how much you need to be sensitive to the people in front of you when you see their weaknesses and you're trying to help them. To be sensitive. It's very easy to try to use an advantage when someone is with a weakness in front of you, okay? The Egyptian people were with some sort of a very big weakness, and Joseph was very sensitive with a lot of points to give them, I will call it, an honest way, and in a, how did you call it? Okay? Yes, dignity, with a lot of dignity, that not to use their, I will say, weakness to take it as an advantage on those people. Yeah. This is something that I took. And the same thing, a lot of times you find someone that is with a bit of weakness or something that is not coming in front of you with the most
so often,
strength.
Yeah,
and
people look to
thing.
exploit. Yeah.
And we know that it's very tempting to use this as an advantage on those people. And what I saw here, well, one of the biggest messages that I've got here is how to behave with someone who is coming in front of you that is not in his best time in life. How to help him, how to listen good to where he is, what's happening with him. How can I give from me a bit more? I'm not supposed to be, someone the rug that he will climb on me, but I can help. This is something that I took. But again, we spoke here about few things. Everybody can take more points and more things. This is one of the ways, what I wanted to show when we are learning the Bible. First of all, to approach those words with a lot of humility, and this is why we have the oral Bible. It's very hard, I know, for the Christian people, or those who grew up in a Christian, I will call it a tradition, to realize that there's also the oral Bible. The oral Bible is trying to preserve the prophecy environment, even though we lost the prophecy. And it's not a mistake that the Christian authority decided that it's not allowed to learn the oral Bible, or it's not allowed to learn the Old Testament, okay? Because it is hiding inside a different logic of understanding. But first of all, to approach the Bible with a bit of humility. If I don't understand, so it's bigger than me. I need to achieve, I need to try more, I need to seek more, to understand, to listen to the oral tradition, to someone else that is explaining something here or there. And the second thing is, there are things that we can learn from the Bible. He is guiding us how to behave. It's not just, it's the words of God for today, not only for those days, 4,000 years ago when Joseph was, it's not only a nice story, it's something that is teaching us how to behave. Now, along all of the times that we are learning, I'm trying to show this. This is one of the most important points that I've got from Rabbi Chaim, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, my rabbi, and I've learned with him for 10 years, not for one day. And after that, I had also another 10 years of learning, but not in the same intensive time. Okay? In the beginning, it was 10 years in the yeshiva. A bit more, but never mind. Always when we've learned, he was trying to teach us, stand up from the book and try to ask yourself, what have you learned for your life today from the words of God that you read today, that you learned today? How to approach the learning of the Bible, the learning at all, okay? Most of you are not learning what we call the Gemara, the Babylon Talmud. You're not learning it. Okay, fair enough. You don't need to learn it. You can learn we did a very small book, but it's called Brit Shalom, so you can learn there a lot of things that you can behave. Fair enough. We're learning the Bible. When we're standing up after we're learning the Bible, what have we took from the learning to our lives today? You don't need to answer me now. Something to think about. I know it's
very important. Very important that it becomes practical for sure. That's something we can actually put into practice, and very good lesson to let us think. I spent a lot of years, 25 years in the auto industry in sales, and I did very, very, very well. And then I was in management for a lot of years. The point being, I ended up leaving the business because of the way the business distorted and the buying habits. As prices were spiraling out of control, I started to see more and more, and I think what helped me get successful is that I was always trying to help people out of their situation. It became apparent, and that aided in successful sales. but then that morphed. More and more people were in need, and you get people that would come in because their cars were damaged and they couldn't afford to repair it, but they owed more on the car than it was worth, and they would end up rolling the loan into another loan. And and I watched many salespeople take advantage of that situation and prey upon it, and actually make the situation worse for the customer rather than resolve any issues. Yes, they ended up driving out with a newer vehicle that met their immediate need, but long term it was going to be much more painful. And I don't think people see that if they're not managing scenario, somebody will step up and manage it for you, and usually not in your favor, like we saw Joseph do here. He managed, the Egyptian kingdom in favor of the people, and that is a very, very rare quality. And even in my country, we see lots of problems with the politicians who are supposed to be managing, just like we saw through the COVID crisis. The spending just started going off the hook, and it's always sold as the notion that they're managing it for you in a proper light, but you got to pay attention. If you're not managing your life, somebody else will do it for you, and nobody wants to feel like their life's puppet strings pulled. So learn that you can put things into proper practice. So I think the life lessons you're trying to share with Torah give us a handle to do things properly. Sure.
Hopefully, this is why we're learning all those things. Anybody else wants to ask something or to mention something? Yes, please.
I have a question.
Yes, Lloyd.
Sometimes,
no, Lloyd. Sorry, Collins. Yes, Collins. From where are you? From England or from?
I'm the UK.
From the UK. Excellent. I will tell you a secret. Yeah, Angela, there is sparking, but very quietly. Very good.
But I realized that for Joseph's case, Pharaoh trusted him with everything, and all his decisions were accepted to Pharaoh. But sometimes in the real world, if you work in a position and you want to protect the interest of customers or colleagues that work with you, and the boss or the company you work with is not straightforward and honest, sometimes they can refuse to cooperate with a good person. So that can become challenging. So in such situations, you find that you that want to do the best for the workers or colleagues or customers will encounter opposition from management for trying to be the good man in the system.
It's a very hard question, and one of I will call it the 7 laws of the Noahide is not stealing, and we're going to a lot of details in the Brit Shalom book about it, and it's hard. A lot of times it's hard, and I'm getting those questions from a lot of places of the world. We're getting not only me, and it's a lot of time very tough to deal with companies who are doing things that you're not supposed to do. So the question is, it's very hard to answer a general question. The answer is you need to be as much honest as you can and everything else. But if there is a specific question that you are dealing with, so contact me on a personal level and we will speak about it to exactly how to do it. But as a general principle, I must say that it is hard, and you need to do your best to behave in the right way and not to be part of any stealing or any using advantage of others in this way. It's not always easy. I must say it's not always easy. By the way, it's not only, it's all over the world. It's not only a problem in England, or also in Israel you can find, sometimes people who are dealing. When I came back from last time that I came back from the airport to home, okay, so the cab that took me, the taxi driver, he told me, that for 30 years he was selling cars, and he wasn't behaving in a religious way. Is what he told me. When I met him, okay, he was with the Yarmulke. Today he's a religious and everything else, and he told me, when I became more full and I started to believe more in God and to behave in the right way, I saw that all the way that I was behaving for selling the cars, it was all in a wrong way. I lied a lot. I played with people a lot. I didn't tell them the truth with a lot of things. So I decided to move from this thing. I had 4 places that I sold cars, and I moved everything. I sold everything to others, and I said to them, I can't continue with this lie. So I asking me, is it easy? It's not easy. It's not easy. Someone have a very good shape of work, and suddenly he's finding himself that he lived in a lie. It's not easy. I think that all of you know how much it is complicated to move from a way that you lived in a lie to a new life. It's the same thing. So in principle, we need to be in an honest way. Well, as we saw now with Joseph, also how he's behaving and everything else. In practical way, if you have a question, always don't hesitate to contact me with the email and everything else, and we will discuss your specific issue. But yes, it's very hard, and we need to do our best to behave in the right way.
Thank you.
After all. Okay. Any more questions, notes, inquiries, other things, other issues, whatever it is? Everything is fine.
Yeah, Rabbi, this Wednesday I will be doing a live meditation class with Hashi Skobak, so I want to invite everybody to come and check that out. That's going to be Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Hashi Skobak's going to do a once a month session. She's a wonderful lady. This is Rabbi Michael Skobak's wife. And it was an honor to meet her at the conference that we had. And boy, she's got some life skills that I think everybody will benefit from. But just, how to put things into practical application. But she teaches on meditation or meditative techniques. And that's this Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. If it's within your time shoot, I'll be broadcasting that live here on the Noahide World Center social media, as well as the Noahide Society of Canada Facebook page. And I want to make
very
it successful for her.
Yes, very important. I'm excited for that also, for this new thing with Hashi Skobak, the Rebbitzin. Fair enough. Okay, now we started a new year, right? All of you started a new year.
Yeah, new secular year, yes.
Enjoy the new year that you have. I will tell you something, but it's only between us. Nobody else can see that. There is one of the say that one of the greatest Rabbanim, 200 years ago, every year on this day, he was blessing all the Hasidim, all the groups of people. So they asked him, how come you're doing this? It's a secular, it's related with the Christian world. It's not related with us. So he said, no, you don't understand. When we are celebrating the Hebrew nation, we are celebrating the beginning of the year. So we are praying, we are crying, we have the blowing the shofar, whatever it is. We are accepting God to become our king and everything else. And some of the people, because all sorts of reasons, because of the behavior, God is deciding that it's the end of the year. Until the moment that God see how exactly the non-Jewish people are celebrating the beginning of the year with a lot of happiness, drinks, whatever it is. So then God is saying, okay, now I prefer the way that the Hebrew people are doing it. So I'm saying this we need to celebrate also the beginning of the year. Everything is fine, but remember exactly who is God and what are we doing here in this world and how to behave in the right way. It's also very important. Have a blessing week and a blessing year ahead.
Thank you, Rabbi. And once again, our condolences on the loss of your Rabbi, Chaim Druckman. A wonderful gentleman, had a great career, and I'm sure he'll be sadly missed. But are we on for next Sunday, Rabbi? Are you
Yes,
available
yes.
for next Sunday? Okay,
Yes.
folks. So there you have it, right from Rabbi. We're going to aim to be back at the same time next Sunday, and we hope that you'll join us. So catch the Torah wave. We really appreciate Rabbi Chaim sharing the depth of Torah as it's taught to the Jewish people, and going in depth with us, and allowing us to bask in the light of Torah. It's just beautiful. So we hope you all catch the Torah wave. And until next week, have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Bye.